my bad. The editor-at-large of The Ringer, which is really doing a lot of great work in and such. You want to know why Sports Illustrated is only publishing now once every 2 weeks? Well, there are a lot of websites out there like The Ringer that are doing some great features and investigative pieces and such, just like Bryan Curtis did with Jason Witten's new broadcast partner, Joe Tessitore, writing about Monday Night Football. And where to begin? Bryan Curtis, first of all, it's good to talk to you again. But I want to know, what was the motivation? Where did this all come out about, yes, let's do a big feature on Joe Tessitore? What's the motivation there?
Well, I think, Marky, is a couple of things. One is just, like you, I grew up with Monday Night Football, and that being such a huge franchise in my life, the big NFL night before it was replaced by Sunday. So I have a certain affection for the franchise. I think, ESPN is at this fascinating juncture with the NFL, where, they really had their relationship really hit the rocks last year. The Monday night schedule has been really bad the last couple of years, almost like the NFL is trying to punish them for not being a good partner. And ESPN's at this point where they are the NFL's partner to the business partner to some of the craziest and most devastating NFL stories, right? So on the one hand, you're the business partner. On the other hand, you're kind of the chief journalistic antagonist, and I wanted to explore that idea a little bit.
Well, and I've talked about Monday Night Football when I just can't see and such paying $2 billion to have this relationship with the NFL where they say, no, we don't want you to broadcast playmakers. No, we don't want you to do this show, especially when, the NFL could, if they wanted to continue Monday Night Football, put it on the NFL Network. Do you think that we're going to have that relationship with ESPN/ABC in 2022?
NFL, I always say I'll believe it when I see it. Because it's still the biggest draw in television. There was a stat the other day that Fox put out that said 71 of the 100 most watched television shows last year, 71 about that. Yeah, and as the rest sitcoms and dramas at the end of the day, you say, okay, we still need cable subscribers, right? That is not going to go out of business overnight. What's going to keep people subscribing? Well, it's going to be NFL stuff. And by the way, in that $2 billion figure, they also get the rights to show NFL highlights on their air, which is important too, because they've got to have Sports Center, they've got to have NFL shows, they've got to have that stuff all over the network too.
Would it, just out of theory, Bryan Curtis, if let's say ESPN didn't have that contract, they were no longer, or they wanted freedom, would they still be able to show those highlights? I mean, ago, but I remember their microphone in locker rooms all around the NFL and such. I remember, highlights this sort of time. Would we still have that if ESPN? What is the rule with the highlights? I mean, could the NFL not allow the ESPN to use them?
What counts as news, right? And in a limited way, but to have enough of it to do things like their NFL Insiders kind of shows, right? To have any kind of programming other than very, very skeletal, basic highlights of the NFL would pretty much be impossible. So what they would probably do in that case is strike a smaller deal with the NFL and say, look, we still want to populate our air with your highlights. And it
sometimes seems to me now that with Thursday night football, Sunday night football, 2 games on Sunday, plus, your high school, college, all that stuff, the Monday night game is now something of an afterthought unless your team is playing in it. Now, admittedly, there was casts still a place for Monday Night Football, or is it destined as the last game of the weekend to be, just an afterthought these days?
Well, it certainly has felt that way in the last couple of years, and I think because you have this kind of giant game capstone of the week. It should feel fun and different. And I'll tell you, and this will resonate with you, what the model should be. It should be like the college games that Joe Tessitore announced when he had a college game on Thursday night, right?
Okay.
On Friday night. Or Fowler and Herbstreit are doing the big, quote-unquote, big Saturday night game, right? Alabama and whatever it was. And he's doing that kind of second game, right? And he's just selling it, and he's putting all, and he is acting, and I say acting because this is how he really feels like he'd rather be nowhere else in the world. And you know what? Sometimes you want to watch those games because it's like bonus football. That's how I treat it as a college football fan. That might not be my team. It might not be the best matchup on paper, but I say I want to be there because the announcer's invested, because it's going to be fun, wacky stuff could happen. I think that's how you treat Monday Night Football. You know, like that to me is a model. Again, now we're mostly just talking about how you announce it, how it feels when you turn on the broadcast, but that's how I would do it. And I think Joe, you know, coming from the college football background that he does, that's exactly how he's going to announce the game. He's going to be like, I'm all in, buddy. No matter what this is, if it doesn't look great on paper, I'm all in. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a little goofy, and you're going to have a good time.
Well, one of the things about Joe Tessitore, what I took from your article, Bryan Curtis of The Ringer, was he came off to me as sort of like super salesman. You know, I mean, there he was feeding you everything that he had in his kitchen and then everything at the restaurant, that sort of thing. But also, you know, very much, he was giving honest answers, but it was obvious he was trying to really do a sales job, in my opinion. And he didn't take whatever that is. I mean, you know, there's the idea of sleazy salesman, but there's also the idea of, you know, well-intentioned salesman at all. How did you, would you agree with that? I mean, what did you take from Tessitore when you had your extended time with him, really?
Well, you know, it's funny because I asked him about this very fact, and he says, you know, when he was in college football, one of his jobs was to go up to all those athletic directors and SIDs in the SEC, right? Here's the guy from upstate New York, right?
Yeah.
It's like Michael Live, right? He doesn't have any connection to the South. When he started the SEC network, he had to go be buddies with those guys. When he started calling boxing for ESPN, he had to go be friends with Bob Arum, who is, by the way, on the other cultural side of the world as your average, you know, Georgia SID. I'm pretty
Sure.
You know, big boxing promoter. And that's part of, and he was also a local news guy in Hartford, and we know the aspect of local news guy. That's part of his personality, and it's not something I thought that was even, you know, in the piece, just even sort of an impression. It's something that just go into Park Avenue and let Roger Goodell and all those executives and Jerry Jones and Bob Kraft know that I'm not just a guy calling your games. I am your partner. We are in this at some level together, and that's what it is. And that's absolutely part of his personality.
Well, I obviously, Bryan Curtis, want to ask you about his relationship with Jason Witten, who, of course, comes from Elizabethton, Tennessee. A couple of thoughts as I read this about Joe Tessitore. They had to go out and from who knows where, Knoxville or Asheville or Roanoke, get lasagna noodles. They had to, you know, mail order lasagna noodles at the Italian restaurant, which, by the way, was a favorite of Jason Witten's. I also was told there. Here's another thing that I thought of. Tessitore was talking about how he won a lottery. Bryan, I used to watch TV commercials, and it's illegal to gamble in the state of Tennessee. I mean, there was an ardent, this is not what you do. Your preacher tells you, don't you dare, you know, bet on a football game. But that's the environment that Witten's coming from. Tessitore, like I said, very different. So, can Schenectady and Elizabethton get along? That's my question.
It's really funny, and they're just also just different people, I think, in aspect, too, right? Jason was, we talked about Joe being, exciting and dramatic and everything, and Jason Witten, and I'm a huge Cowboys fan, but when I saw him play, it was like, his interviews were, yes, sir, no, sir. I went out there and I want the team to win, and both just absolutely. They are guys who somebody who doesn't mind having a big pour of a drink, somebody who doesn't mind cutting into a porterhouse, somebody who doesn't mind a little, male bonding that carries past 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, where you're still lifting another glass of beer or a glass of wine. And I think that is the level they really connected on it. They've been basically bonding ever since they met in April.
That's intriguing. It reminds me a little bit about Jim Valvano, and people once asked him, hey, how can you, the ultimate Italian New Yorker, get along so well in Raleigh, North Carolina? And it didn't hurt that he won, but he said, when I searched the North Carolina State boosters, when I searched the fan base, I thought, what is Raleigh and New York City? What is similar to them? And he said, family. And that's how he sold himself to. And so, like I said, there were a lot of differences, but, it's all America, too. Cosell was the guy from Brooklyn, very outspoken and all this. Meredith was the charming, good old boy. And I really and truly believe that the Dallas Cowboys became America's team in large part because of Meredith's personality on Monday night. I really believe that. And, but anyway, a question that I'm going to ask you here, is this what ESPN is trying to resurrect? That sort of,
thing about that original booth by Cosell and Meredith is that Rune Arledge, who ran ABC Sports, put them in there basically to argue with each other.
Yeah.
He wanted Meredith to let the air out of Cosell's tires. Cosell being pompous and outspoken and, let us say absorbed with his own smart that vibe. Look, Tessitore said it to me. He liked his vibe is the 70s. His vibe is Sinatra. About football so much. Don't think about CTE while you're watching a broadcast. Kick back, relax, enjoy that. His vibe. And I think that he definitely does want to recreate that to whatever extent is possible.
Well, we're talking to Bryan Curtis of The Ringer. We're talking a little bit about, did this great story on Joe Tessitore, who's going to be Jason Witten's broadcast paper columnist, what we have, and so on. What do you think of the job Witten has done on the first broadcast?
Jason Witten, Tony Romo, fresh off the field style of announcer recruitment, you're going to get guys who are still learning the mechanics of broadcasting. How do I make a point in 15 seconds and then shut up, right? So the play-by-play guy. How do I not just make a point and say, my teammate, like Jason, we were talking about in Dallas, saying my teammates are the best. I'm a team player, 100 people. And I think when you want that, he is still adjusting. The good news is they've got a couple more weeks before they, really go under the lights. But, I think it seems like he has the personality for the job. Like, he seems like a warm guy around and spend 3 hours with. And I think it's probably what he's working on is what exactly am I saying and how am I saying it on the air?
Yeah, I was skeptical because, like you said, the yes or no, sir. I did years and years ago, Bryan Curtis of The Ringer, 2013 before the draft, a story for the Johnstown Tribune Democrat, why the Steelers should be interested in Jason Witten. It was, boy, there wasn't a whole lot there. And I wonder if that wasn't why the Cowboys got him in the third round. I mean, just, is this dull East Tennessean, that sort of thing. And I've always thought that might have been the reason why. Now, I have talked to Rick Goslin, is going to be making eventually the presentation for Jason Witten to the Hall of Fame. And he said, let me tell you, when Jason Witten puts his mind to it, he's going to succeed. That was his, so if you want, I mean, it seems a little cliched, but I mean, that's what somebody knew that. So, like I said, jury is still out. There's a lot of time to grow and all this, but, well, I'll ask you this. We really got to know Tessitore in that piece. But do you think that this can be a relationship, that sort of must watch for Monday Night Football that it once was again? Do you think that there's something there that can revive Monday Night Football?
Well, I'll tell you, Marky, first of all, your listeners should probably not trust my gut because I don't know that I believe that Tony Romo was going to emerge as one of the most likable announcers last year because he was a really boring interview too, man, as a Cowboy. His direct TV commercials were more interesting than any of the interviews he gave as a Cowboy. But the key here for Witten is that he's got a partner. On boxing, numerous guys on football who basically find themselves looking at Joe Tess in the booth and going, "Uh-oh, now what do I do?" And he coaches them, and he is fully invested in Witten becoming a top-tier analyst. So I think if Witten's going to do it, this is the circumstance he's going to do it in. And it may remain the question of whether he gets there, or even, whether he's purely a good analyst rather than a great analyst. But I think this is the place he's going to do it if he's going to do it.
Well, we've been talking to Bryan Curtis about Monday Night Football, Joe Tessitore, but also his relationship with Jason Witten. All I'm going to say is this. You get the chance to talk to him again. You get the chance to talk to Jason Witten at some point. Bryan, tell Jason to tell his brother, Sean Witten, who's the head coach at Elizabethton High School, that I don't care if you lose the game or not. It's unethical. That has really bugged me over the years about Jason Witten.